The finale of Star Trek Picard is here, and boy, do we have a lot to say about it. Find out what's tonight on the Star Trek Picard Aftershow. Make it so.
We almost didn't do the enemy opener.
And welcome to the final episode of Make It So, the Star Trek Picard Aftershow from the Real Super Geeks. We have a full crew here tonight to either lambaste or praise the final episode of Star Trek Picard. And I know folks have a lot to say, so we'll jump right in with a quick introduction for everyone. Starting with our Eyebrows of Doom / announcer, Ross. How are you, Ross?
I am doing pretty good tonight, all things considered.
That's
Earl
a
Grey
different show.
in hand. There we go.
And from Las Vegas, the man we got to know, America needs to know, Shawn, are you wearing pants?
Put your leg down.
Is that pale white skin indicate pantslessness?
Yeah, almost transparent skin.
Wow. Okay, so I'm
Lord.
glad that, thank you for joining us, old school with no pants. So
I figured it'd be easier. I figured it would be easier for me to take a dump all over Picard without pants on.
Okay, there's a little preview for you folks at home. And from somewhere in space is our mascot, Index, better known as Sun Seal. Sun, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing really well, but it just some days it seems like I'm in Pee-wee's Playhouse.
That's a lot for Index to process right there.
It really is. It's a stimulus overload at times. So
She said the word!
Here's the word of the day. All right. Thank you, Sun.
The word of the month.
Joining us, our special guest and weighing in on the finale is Jason Kovalik. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing as well as can be expected in social distance land.
Under the circumstances.
Yes.
Luckily, between all of us, we have exactly the same social distance we had 6 months ago. So, I feel as close to you guys as I've ever been.
There you go.
Actually, 6 months
that
ago.
means never further
6
apart.
months ago was STLV, wasn't
I'm
it?
thinking the same
We're
thing.
a lot closer.
Like 7 months ago. Yeah,
That's
I don't know
true.
if
That's
that-
true. Good point.
Good thing or the saddest thing I've ever heard.
And joining us from Colorado, Travis Linton, admin of the largest Star Trek Facebook group that there is. Travis, how are you this evening?
It's been a very hard week, unfortunately. I don't know if you guys heard. Well, I know some of you did, but unfortunately, one of the admins of that recently lost a battle to cancer, and we all got hit pretty hard with that. And just a whole bunch of other shenanigans with the isolation. A lot of people taking it hard in my life, and so
Well,
it's
I know that you yourself cleaned up for tonight's show, so I appreciate that. And I hope things get better for you and yours in the coming weeks.
Very, very sorry to hear about your friend, Travis.
Yeah, I saw the post about that. And
we miss him
that's
very
big
dearly.
loss. And our stalwart producer, coming last but not least, is Justin Burton. Justin, how are you?
I am
Crazy.
doing quite well. Do what?
Phrasing.
Phrasing. All right, let's jump into this episode because, wow, so many feelings. Okay, let's do a quick round robin in which we basically get a I liked, I hate, or somewhere in the middle from each of you, and then we'll dive into some more depth. So let's start with you, Justin.
Okay, I liked it overall, but there's some details. But I'll go into more details later.
Okay. Jason, how about you?
I loved it.
You loved it?
I loved it, yeah.
Okay. Son.
This episode gets a 4.5.
Wow. Okay.
Oh.
And Travis?
When I first watched it, admittedly, I had a lot of mixed feelings. I let those feelings stew in my mind, and I believe I've come to terms with it. And
Wow, this has been a week for you.
Satisfactory, I guess. I mean, I'll go into it later.
Yeah, of course. And Shawn, everyone brace yourselves.
Uh-oh.
That's my general overall feeling. I thought it was an absolute mess all the way around. But, you know, it doesn't mean I don't love the show, but I cannot like an episode. Thank you. So,
Indeed. Okay. And Eyebrows of Doom. Ross, how do you
Liked
weigh
it.
in? Liked it. Okay.
Yeah, thumbs up.
All right. We're all over the spectrum. I myself will say I liked it with some extreme disappointments. I didn't hate it, but there was definitely I was disappointed with some of what we saw.
I believe I know what one of those disappointments is.
You do know at least one of them. I know that.
There was no Q.
And I will.
Honestly, James,
That is not among them. That is
Hold on.
not among them.
I will say this,
say
though, with all the fan wings shoved into this, I was really surprised he didn't show up. Seriously.
I was almost expecting him to show up whenever Picard woke up after he died. I'm like, oh no, shit, we're going to see Q.
I didn't expect that at all.
Or when he walked into the white light. Yeah,
I am hoping to hopefully give a little bit of an in-depth analysis into the one disappointment that I know you have.
Oh, okay. Well, let's jump in. How about if we start at the end with the end, presumably a twisty ending. So what did you think, A, of Picard surviving and becoming a synth himself, and B, Data's death?
Starting to hear already.
Well, we're going to start with the end because that's what everyone's talking about. Journalism, we start with the most important thing first, and the end really was kind of a big deal on those two fronts. So I'm going to unleash you first, Shawn.
All right. So what am I hitting here first?
The end.
Picard?
The twistiness of the end.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Picard's synth thing first, or Data's death first?
You can take either one.
All right, let's take Picard's synth nonsense first, okay? That felt to me so contrived and shoehorned that it was completely unnecessary. They made a point throughout the entire series so far to highlight how his unnamed neurological disease that we know as aromatic syndrome, how it's going to kill him ultimately. And they just put a big fucking reset button on the whole thing. Why bother? I mean, why bother planting that seed to begin with if you're not going to make it carry out on throughout the entire, what we presume will be at least 3 seasons? They just did a reset button with him and stuck him into another body. I thought it was dumb. It was just contrived. It's like it's almost as if they thought to themselves at the beginning, "This is a great idea. We'll have the aromatic syndrome thing, play it all the way through the series." And then they got like about 6-7 episodes in and said, "Nah, we better get rid of that." And they just came up with that. So I hated it. So that's what I hated. As for Data, my problem with the Data issue thing is that they fucked up his death twice, in Nemesis and here. And the reason I think it was fucked up in this one is because they planted none of the seeds for this throughout the entire first season. If this had been a thing all the way along where there was no emotional resonance for this at the end. It's just like they took a season's worth of buildup that didn't exist and just pushed it into those final 5 minutes of this episode, which is why I hated it. If they had actually established more of this back and forth between Picard and Data, like in a dream sequence, in a simulation sequence, whatever the case may be, it would have worked much better. But it's just like they shoehorned it at the end. It's like they said, "Oh, we have this we could do. Okay, sure, let's do it." And so there you have it.
You know
That's
what?
what I didn't like
You
about
know
it.
what? You could actually. This is crazy and out there, but you could actually tie in the brain anomaly to the data sequence or to the data thing for the entire season if you made that brain anomaly some kind of quantum entanglement from the.
Sure. It would have been great if they did that, but they didn't. They just shoehorned that shit in at the end, which is what bothered me so much.
All those dreams that Picard had been having were literally him being in the simulation before he was in the simulation because quantum entanglement.
Sure, I would have gone for that. I would have bought that. As sci-fi as sci-fi and goofy as that is, it's better than what they did. I mean, so.
Here's
okay.
my.
What? Wait. I'll call you for your turn. Quick thing, Travis. Could you actually fidget away from your microphone because we keep hearing the
click, 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 click.
Yeah, I think that's. No, I'm still hearing it. It's somebody else. Somebody else is doing something near their microphone.
I believe it might be Justin's fan. Yep.
Okay.
It's not me.
Okay. Yeah, I don't hear it anymore.
Sorry, Justin.
Okay, thank you. Let's just cut this part out, Justin. Sorry. Okay, let's jump in, and we're going to go next to Sun. What do you think, Sun?
So, I kind of agree with Shawn that it's like the whole thing about the data thing was that it's supposed to be really? He has been alive the whole time? Oh, okay. So what am I supposed to feel now other than shock?
Right, exactly. Right. Yep.
Okay. Where's the tie-in to all the dreams Picard has been having about data at the very beginning?
Oh, there's a tie-in. There's a tie-in to that.
What?
Because Picard's consciousness has been introduced into the same, and he said this so many times. The massive quantum simulation, was it? Data said it, I don't know, 3-4 times, like that was significant in some way. But anyway, with that being introduced, of course his dreams would be there too. And we saw an excerpt of that in, when Picard appeared in the simulation. So that's the connection.
Sure, but that's his memories being mapped into the simulation.
Correct, right.
Not them having been tied to the simulation from the beginning of the series.
Yeah, that's true. That's certainly not what they're doing. But my point is that why did they need to do that? He could have he did have those dreams just because he had those dreams. He's a human being with dreams and guilt and, feelings of grief around the death of his friend who sacrificed himself for him. So it's not shocking at all that he would have dreams about him. There was nothing particularly esoteric about the dream,
except that the dreams he was having at the beginning of this series specifically led him on this quest in the first place.
Well, not really. It was Soji showing up that led him on the quest. The dreams provided the context in which it happened.
I agree, but I think there is more to it. I think that's what they were trying to get at here, but they only did it in the beginning and at the end. I wish they had.
But there wasn't anything more to it. The dream at the beginning was the introductory dream to the show was a manifestation of Picard's guilt and over business unfinished, the death of Data, his survivor's guilt, his guilt at the loss of Mars, and then the dream of him with Data and the painting didn't happen until after Soji got there.
Right.
And then when the doctor showed up to give him his bill of health and he told him about the brain abnormality, he talked about the symptoms, oddly vivid dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all explained. But I see your point, Shawn, which is narratively, the dreams are very significant, and narratively they should have done more with that in the middle of the season, because the beginning and the end, it just doesn't quite feel. They're two bookends with no books in the middle, right?
Bingo. That's precisely my problem.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that point. But I don't think it's a failure of explanation. It's just a failure of of building a strong narrative, which is my overall problem with this finale. But we'll get to me later.
Yeah, that's what I agree. That's what I'm totally saying. This is a problem not with the content so much, but with the storytelling aspect, how they constructed it from beginning to end. That's where I'm at entirely.
Yeah, we'll come back around to that. Son, go ahead and finish yours.
Yeah, as for the death of Data, he was basically just kept inside a largely more infinitely complex Moriarty box.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, that's the first thing I thought of. It looked like it reminded me of. Yeah.
But why keep him in the box?
Why what?
Yeah.
Why keep him in the box?
Bruce Maddox did that. He chose to do that. That's Bruce Maddox's fault.
Yeah, but
it wasn't Data's plan. I mean,
but it's Bruce Maddox. Bruce Maddox adored this character. You would think,
and that's why he kept him alive. He kept him alive.
He didn't adore it. I mean, he saw Data as a toy, as
I don't
a
necessarily
thing.
No. I think since Measure of a Man, they became friends. He respected him.
Yeah.
And I feel like it makes sense to me because he respected and liked Data so much. That's why he saved him. Although technically, Data did die. What this is a massive, complex, quantum simulation in which his memories are given sentience.
I call him Thomas Data
because of the infrastructure of the. That's actually not a bad way of putting it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of looking at it.
Son, anything else about the ending you want to comment on?
Mr. Maddox, sir, you are literally standing next to the son of Soong, who has made an entire planet of androids. Why is he still in the box?
Okay, first of all, we don't know when Maddox actually put Data in the box.
Right.
My guess is it happened way before, from B4.
Right.
And probably also before the creation of, the new generations of synths that culminated in Daj and Soji. So, so he reconstructed Data, as it were. But why? How do you explain? What's the impetus for him to kill him, basically, after he just saved him?
Kill him for all.
Say again.
How would transferring from this simulation into an android body kill him?
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's a very good question. That is a good question.
That's a whole...
For all we know, the Golem could have been built for Data.
I believe.
No, it was clear that it was for Alton. They even make a reference to it somewhere in there that it was meant for Alton.
His time was running out, so apparently he had some type of unknown something going on.
Well, I mean, look, they basically created like all these Westworld type bodies for all these people, like they can do it on the fly. So the question on ask is an important one. Okay, why not just put Data into another one?
I have a possible explanation.
Did to Picard, okay?
Because the bit of Data may have required him being in that simulation in order to create the other synths.
Or the Data consciousness asked him not to be put in a body.
Maybe.
And that's another part of this that I have an issue with. It's like I don't recall during the series that Data was so hung up about this idea of I have to be dead in order to really experience humanity. I mean, I think
Time Zero
was mentioned.
Yeah, I was about to say.
What?
Time Zero.
Huh?
Thank you, Jason, for being the best geek.
No, he doesn't. But he just what he says is he doesn't say that he doesn't dwell on it though. I know where you're going with.
Well, yeah, he's had 14 years, or he's had 20 years of dwelling inside that quantum simulation to think about it.
Well, he's basically like hanging out in an airport terminal without the proper passport. I mean,
Yeah.
he's going to want to come out of it. I mean, like I said, I don't know. Are you really seeking death at that point? And I don't know.
Thing is, he was socially isolated for 20, how long he was in that box and only had
imagine our virus quarantine lasting that long. I'm pretty sure budget was at that point.
Indeed.
Maybe it is. Oh my God, maybe.
Okay, let's move on to our next respondent, and let's go over to Travis. What are you going to lead off with here, Travis? About the ending?
Well, I guess since we're all talking about it, I'll lead off with the Data Picard thing. I don't know what you guys are all smoking. I don't want any, but you all, I thought it was a beautiful scene, honestly. I believe it provided a lot of closure between the two characters that was completely absent in Nemesis. I believe that it actually hammered home the point of, why we should keep Data dead. And I have you to thank for that, Shawn, ironically enough. What else did I write here?
Did you have more on Data, or did you want to comment on the Picard synth?
When I'll get to the Picard synth, but I'll also say that just the last lines that they say together to each other, the goodbye commander, goodbye captain, I nearly lost it. Like that's up there to me, that is up there with his was most human from Kirk. Like I was on the verge of tears right there, especially after hearing the emotion. But that's all I got to say about that. As far as the Picard synth, I know that a lot of you in the chat saw me go on record saying that, like, if they go this route, it may very well be where I say I'm not watching the show anymore. And, well, fucking surprise, surprise, that's the route they go. But I will say that they handled it in a way that I didn't quite expect, and I'm very happy that they did.
So tell us more about that.
I am still kind of mixed on it. I'm very mixed on this. It's starting to grow on me, but I think that's mainly because of the previous scene where he's with Data and, they're going back and forth talking about how Data doesn't regret sacrificing his life for Picard, and that whole duo. Like, I think what really sells this for me, though, is that at the very end of that, you see that white light. And to me, that is very much just me saying, like, that's me. I'm losing my train of thought.
Well, if it comes back to you, just jump in again.
I enjoyed the TNG switch.
The TNG switch?
Yeah,
the door.
When the white light appears, the TNG switch of the doors, and white light appears.
I guess, like, where I'm going with this is that I've had this debate with my uncle a lot about if your consciousness was preserved in a body of a machine, would you still be you? And this is a debate that he and I have gone on about a lot and outside of Star Trek, but here I believe that they very much said, like, Picard may be in a different body, but he is still very much Picard. And they do go out of their way a lot to very much humanize him still. And again, I have very mixed feelings about it, but I do find it beautiful that Picard would sacrifice himself, his body, his life, to protect the synths on this planet. And they in turn would, prolong his life through synthetic means. However, I'm going to be eyeing this route that they go here. I'm going to be looking at this decision with extreme scrutiny in the coming seasons, because they need to do something with it now. They need to. This cannot, I cannot emphasize this enough. This cannot be Harry Kim's actually a duplicate, but no one's ever going to talk about it. Like it can't go this route.
No,
I think
that's a
they're
good
gonna go
point.
they're going exactly that route. They're just going to be like all 12 and 12.
Like,
Yeah, it may happen. I totally agree with you though, Travis, about that.
It's rare that
Overall, I feel like where this show now stands at the end of this first season is they have to make some narrative choices in going into season 2 to keep this from feeling like Voyager.
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, look, it's rare that a series that runs 7 seasons jumps the shark in the first seasons. But that's
and I think
Voyager
that's an
did.
overstatement. I think that's an overstatement.
I'm talking about Voyager, not Picard.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Any more to add there, Travis?
A little bit. Regardless, like I said, they definitely need to do something with this, whether it be like, Picard having a bit of an identity crisis in the next few seasons or whatnot, or I'm curious how Guinan will fit into the next season with this and how they might actually potentially talk about this. Here's where I'll throw Justin a bone. Like, I will laugh so hard for the right and wrong reasons if next season Q shows up, snaps his fingers, and Picard has his body back. I will laugh so hard for
that is never going to happen.
Reasons.
Well, I'm sorry.
Hey, that's a question.
I'm
Does
not
he still
even.
have a metal heart?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
hasn't.
That was the first thing I thought of. Like, he now has a real
a
heart.
whole new body, no ailments whatsoever. Yeah,
12-inch.
they made it a point to say it.
Yeah, they gave him a 12-inch peen. It's all good.
You are now fully functional.
Exactly.
Fully functional.
All right. Let's let Travis finish his, and then we'll move on to Ross.
The only other thing I would have to say is that I absolutely loved the dialogue that Picard would say when, discovering that he has a new body now. Like, I'm not immortal. Like, I would have liked an additional 10 or 20 years, but I thought it was very charming. Like, I still have a little bit of mixed feelings about it, and I'm curious to see where it goes. But again, I will be eyeballing it with extreme scrutiny, and I hope they really do something good with it. So,
okay, all right. Thank you, Travis. Mr. Eyebrows of Doom, Ross, what do you think?
Well, let me start with Data, and I gotta say the whole scene was beautifully touching. This final interaction between Picard and Data that was really, that to me felt it was moving. I was certainly moved by it. I didn't go into, well, no, I did cry. I definitely cried, but it's hard to really describe the feeling in the moment, because for me, I enjoy these shows in the moment. I try not to look much past why am I having so much trouble right now?
Because you're being emotional. That's okay. It was an emotional scene.
It very much was. Yeah. And like Travis said, it's nicely bookended, not just the series, but also resolved a lot of the survivor's guilt that Picard had after Data gave his life for him. Picard taking his life back, going on this adventure, going on this mission. This bookend with Data, this resolution was unexpected, and I thought it worked very well. And Data asking for his life to end, all jarring, and I didn't want him to die. I thought it was handled beautifully. Data sitting there in that satin robe with a glass of wine, savoring his last moments, and
the actress playing Daj Soji and all that stuff is the one singing Blue Skies.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I didn't know that either.
It was Data going out with a dignity that he didn't get in Nemesis. He had his heroic sacrifice.
Yeah,
but he did. But
I think if there's one person in Star Trek in the franchise that needs to be trolled forever nonstop, it would be Stuart Baird, the director of Nemesis. I'm sorry.
forever. Yeah, I agree.
Well, it was his
Dear
first
God,
directing
dude.
role.
What a-
Prior to that, he
And
was the makeup
last.
director on Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
That was
Yeah, Baird was his claim to fame was editing. He was a world class editor, but not a good editor doesn't always make a good director.
It's true. I mean,
Well-
editors need to be really great storytellers, but that doesn't always translate into directing, because that's when you're doing a lot of the original work, whereas editors are presented with raw material already created and then shape it, and it's a different set of mental tools, creative tools, to do that.
It's refining a vision is what that's doing.
Exactly.
Quick thing I forgot to talk about as far as Data and Picard scene is concerned. I just want to say that I do understand where Shawn's coming from as far as narrative convolution is concerned. I can understand that criticism, and even on some points be a little sympathetic toward it. I can't say it bothers me too much, but I can get it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ross, anything else to add?
And I'd like to clarify too. I agree with Ross on this. And I should have made this clear. The scenes were incredibly touching. I just wish they had more context throughout connected.
I agree with that statement for sure.
Right.
For sure. Ross, anything else you want to add?
Yeah. So the entire Data's death, his second death, was done with a quiet dignity that I think the character really deserved. And it really gave a closure to both Data and Picard's arc in the show. And as for Picard's resurrection, if you'll have it, when I saw the Golem for the first time, and the first thought that popped in my head was, oh God, they're going to put him in there. We're going to have the immortal Picard. Part of me kind of got a little giddy, because after Insurrection, I had this little fan fiction fantasy that mirrored Kingdom Come, the DC comic, of Picard on a vineyard on the Baku planet, shacking up with Anij, the immortal Picard in perpetuity, living this quiet life to explore the universes within whole moments. But then the other part of me kind of got a little concerned, because it felt like it would have been a betrayal or a 180 from the themes that the story was going on. Seizing life for as long as you have it. Life is a right and a responsibility, as he said. And to put him in an enhanced and immortal synth body seemed to go against that. So when he woke up and it was his same face, he seemed to have the same kind of posture. And then later, as they're explaining it to him, that the moment when he says, "Am I real?" That was...
Oh, I love that.
That was a nice counterpoint to Soji's identity crisis and Daj's identity crisis. Daj's identity crisis.
I look at it like this too. Now that he's got this body and he's got that 12-inch peen, he can go visit an Asia anytime he wants on the Baku planet. They're all set. He did say he had 339 days of vacation time available. Time to use them, man. Time to use them.
But then we find out that the body it's not this immortal vessel for Picard to go into perpetuity with. It's an extension to his life, so that he can live out his days in a natural span, just like with what was her name? The body that Sun made for his wife.
Oh, Juliana.
Yeah, Juliana. Yeah. Similar to that. So, in a way, yes, he died. Yes, he resurrected, but this isn't a reboot for Picard. This is a little extra time in gratitude for saving the synths and by extension, the galaxy.
This rebirth of Picard, as it were, in this, I mean, you guys are talking about how, don't fuck this up, don't turn this into Voyager in the next couple of seasons. This is a great opportunity for more transhumanist and metaphysical conversations with Picard.
We talked a bit about that earlier on in the series too.
Because of the, I mean, just like with with Dodge and Soji, the whole premise is that their memories were created, were manufactured to an extent. Picard had an actual life and lived it, and now he's in a synthetic body. And this synthetic body, is he still human? Is he not human? These are concepts one would have to grapple with, just like Soji and Dodge had to.
That might be one of the core parts of the story for the next season.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's basically what Travis said, and they should look at this as an opportunity, not just an excuse to keep the series going. So
I will caveat this with, because my belief, my feeling when I walked away from this was that how fucking fanfic was this to do something like that? But like you've all said, if they actually address these bigger metaphysical issues over the next two plus seasons, I'm down with it. You'll have changed my mind as long as they do that.
all right. Okay, over to you, Jason. Weigh in.
So I really loved the scene between Picard and Data. I hated Nemesis. I'm not going to go so far just to blame Stuart Baird. I think the whole story was garbage from the beginning. I blame John Logan and Brent Spiner for a lot of that. But the best part of Nemesis was Data's death, because that's what made him the most human. That was the most human thing he did. And so this scene between Thomas Data and Picard, really, really dealt with, Picard's survivor guilt. I think Ross called it out. But more importantly, it gave Picard Data's context and why he did what he did, and it related it back to what he did for Dodge and Soji, and why that was important. When I think about Thomas Data's death, it was really touching. Again, his death was the best part of Nemesis to me. It was the most human thing Data could do, and I think seeing him die here provided that dignity. I think you called it, Carlos, where he died. He originally died on his own terms, and he died again on his own terms, but with resolution that we didn't get in Nemesis.
Yeah, and with absolution too for Picard. So yeah, good point.
As far as Picard being a synth, I called it, right?
He did. He quite
yes,
literally
you did.
did.
You did.
Yep. I really do think that, like, for synthetic life to be successful in in this universe where there's so much distrust and there's so much kind of like bitterness against, I think having Picard as a synth is a bridge. So I think, beyond just the metaphysical, Picard's going to have to negotiate. The writers are smart. Picard's going to have to negotiate prejudice and hatred, in addition to the adulation and people loving him.
And he wasn't the most popular guy in the Federation, at the beginning of this show. So yeah, you're right. There may well be suspicion around it, because I can't imagine he's going to keep it secret, because his whole point is to be a bridge. So
I think Clancy just likes telling him to fuck off. I think she really likes him. She just really likes telling him to go fuck himself. Is what it comes down to.
Well, they lightly touch on it right at the very end when Soji says the band's lifted, I can walk around freely now, and he says, "Me too."
So can I.
Yeah, no, I think that was definitely a good call. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, what I like about it is it makes his argument not just principle. Now it's personal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Son, you were going to say something? Go ahead.
But he's been fighting a kind of prejudice like the whole season. The prejudice of treating the elderly different, the prejudice that the Romulans had against him for saving only a few and then quitting. That was a whole scene that was weird in and of itself to get Elnor to join the crew. being this villain character, the on the Stardust City Rag, brought out so many people in who didn't understand the concept of him intentionally being a bad guy.
Yeah.
And
Flamboyantly.
right, and at the same time, you're talking about, he's had to have seen and been involved in all of these, these racially charged, these prejudices. He has to have been. He's been a starship captain for how long?
Long time.
He's been at the forefront of a whole bunch of these exchanges. My God, Code of Honor still exists in the universe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think
everyone's dismays.
They said he was 94 years old, I think it was.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I think you're right, son. But I think Jason's point is that in addition to have built this, to having built this reputation as a peacemaker, as a diplomat, as a bridge between cultures, now he is the bridge between cultures, and that personal aspect that he brings, combined with his history of playing this role, potentially makes what he does in the future.
Okay. I think I need to clarify why I'm saying this. It's because I run in those Revenge of the Woke circles, and their argument is, oh, well, now he's got a reason to be oppressed. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. He's been there. The dude is literally the Starfleet equivalent of Bernie Sanders. Dude's been there the whole
Bart has way nicer hair than Bernie Sanders ever will. So
okay, hang on, just a second.
Photoshop
it. I Skyped just at the minute that you said the name, and so I don't know what you all are laughing at. So
okay.
say it again.
So he's the Starfleet equivalent of Bernie Sanders.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's my delayed response. Okay, thank you.
Oh, God. Poor Carlos.
I know. I felt like, oh, damn it, she said a name. I don't know what it is, and everyone's laughing. Okay. Okay, Jason, your turn. I'm sorry, Justin, your turn.
-2 points for that one. That's okay. Okay, I love the Data farewell in this one. Yeah, I think he got a better goodbye in this than he did in Nemesis. Even though it kind of felt a little, the old Data scene kind of felt shoehorned in, and it was unexpected. None of us even, I don't think any of us guessed Data showing up at the end of the finale in this way. So none of us got that one, I don't think. As far as the card in the sense thing, I'm happy they did it the way they did, because it was, putting him in a whole new body, in a whole new face, it would have probably pissed off a lot of people. And doing it this way, granted, it would have been better if they would have given him some magic cure or regeneration. But, I guess it kind of works. But now he's pretty much got a clean bill of health for however long he has left.
Well, to that note, I would say that's another problem I had with this, is that backing up just a little bit to the moment that we find out he died, and Elnor gives the worst fake crying performance of all time.
I take offense to that.
But the point being is, we all knew he wasn't
I
dead.
cried when that happened.
Elnor had to fake it too, because he's read the script too, and he knew that.
Called acting.
My point being is that there was no real.
Wow.
Well, my point being is that there was no real mystery.
You earned
about
that
this.
one.
There's no real mystery about this, because we all know that they're already filming season 2 of Picard, and that
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart is in it. So it's not like there was any big mystery here, you know. So we knew he was coming back one way or the other. So I mean,
I think it's the one way or the other that I read an interview with Akiva Goldsman in which he was talking about Picard's death. And one of the things he said was, we wanted it to feel real. And, you know, they're obviously going from presumption that people in general don't know that there's a second season. And that may have been a mistake, or may have been a mistake to announce it too early or whatever. But I think you're right, Shawn. It did sort of undercut it for those of us who did know. But for those who didn't, he wanted it to feel real. And in fact, it was. It just wasn't permanent, as they say.
Yeah,
Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that in this era of now we have entire series whose entire existence is based on the internet, that if you've got to change your storytelling to work around that, because there's nobody that doesn't know that Picard isn't coming back next season. I mean, it's got to be a very, very small number of people.
Oh, you would be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Because we run around in internet circles.
Well, imagine people who subscribe to the service too. I mean,
but
the
most
numbers dictate that.
Yeah, but see, there's people in the group.
The median subscriber age for All Access is 45.
Oh, we're Skyping.
Did you hear that, Carlos, or did you Skype on a bit there?
I think we all
I
did.
think I heard you.
I just say the median
when you guys
average
talk over each other, it's really hard. So
understood. The median average of All Access subscribers is 44, actually. So
right.
you know, these X-Geners are on the internet. You know, we know. So I'm like I said, this isn't so much of a criticism, Picard, just an observation right now that I think that they need to, in general, in the shows that are platform specific, they need to start writing them as such, as opposed to in terms of internet buzz, what things are going to get out in advance, what things the audience is going to know, and you know, tailor it to that a little bit more. Again, we are in the birth of, you know, we're in the very beginning of all this, of this new era of television here. So there's going to be things to work out, not just with Picard, but other series as well. Go ahead, Jason.
One of the popular theories that the fandom menace has thrown out was that that Picard would die this season, and that season 2 would take place on the Starship Picard, because all of the other shows were named. But here's what I'm wondering though. Like you think so? They had the early renewal announcement, and like, you know, we saw earlier this season where we had troll posts going on 4chan, and sometimes I wonder if some of these people do have inside sources that leak them bullshit. They probably do, right? Right. So let's just say the rumors out that, well, Picard dies and the show's Picard because their ship becomes the USS Picard. Then what the fact that Picard has a season 2, does it matter? You don't know that Picard's death isn't going to be permanent. Where I think the mistake was with this episode was to air it as a 2-parter instead of 1 2-hour episode, because we all had a week to marinate on the Golem, and you saw like kind of all these rumors solidifying around on you know, all the fan sites solidifying that Picard was going to be moving into the Golem body. Yeah,
you're totally right, and I think that when the series is binged, as it will be by a lot of new people because of the CBS announcement that they're making, giving anyone who wants it a free month, and building that announcement around Picard. That you're right. They were trying to do a fake on us by making it seem like it's going to be Alton Sung, and hoping that we'd fall for it and not think that it would end up being Picard. I don't think many people fell for it because of that week. I think you're exactly right about that. If it had happened, if it had kept going, there's enough going on that people wouldn't have had that time to sort of figure it out, and then thereby sort of lessen the impact of what we ultimately saw in part 2.
I'd like to address what Jason just said about these people possibly having sources that are feeding them false information. This is entirely the case. I know for a fact because I'll give you an example. I've told this before, but I'm going to tell it again. I know somebody that was interviewed and you guys know him too, that was interviewed to work on Discovery. And they were actually given the premises of Discovery that it was going to be based on the conscience of the king, the original series Enterprise with Kodos and all that kind of stuff. And there were lots and lots of detail that was provided to him about this. And of course, it had nothing to do with Discovery. Discovery, it was a red herring put out there. And that is par for the course. And I know also too that there's other people out there that are spitting out information that are getting fed false information too. It's par for the course because this is how they filter out, they figure out who's reliable and who can be trusted with this information. So 3 years later, it doesn't matter. With Discovery, that I tell the story, but that's the truth, and these guys will just run with it. So it's kind of curious. I wonder. It's like, are they doing it now just to fuck with the Phantom Menace? That's what I wonder. Is part of that just
it was.
I think so.
Well, 4chan did. 4chan did it.
But that was an individual. That wasn't CBS.
Yeah, we don't know who the individual was.
Dude, if someone from CBS is actually feeding them the fake information, I'm gonna laugh so hard.
It'd be funny if it was Kurtzman, and Kurtzman put out that he punched an old TV because he got pissed off at a Doomcock video. How meta is that?
Yeah,
I'm surprising.
I'm of two minds when it comes to having the show acknowledge the Phantom Menace.
It's not the show acknowledging the Phantom Menace.
Well, if they're behind it, like if it was Alex
He means
Kurtzman,
production.
It's the production.
Yeah, the production. Yeah, well, that's what I mean by the show. Yeah, I should have been more clear. I meant the production. But yeah, I just think that they have legions of fans who love the show, like many of us here, who will sort of run that gauntlet for them without them having to dignify these people's existence.
Yeah.
It's not the first time that a production, television, movie, or a game has acknowledged toxic elements as a joke or as a means of deflecting or diverting them before.
Somebody had actually, I think Mike Foreman mentioned something in one of the interviews about the toxic fandom and the SJWs. I don't know who posted that in chat.
Michael Shibon. That was his UX.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was one of them. Yeah, that posted about it. They didn't name the fandom menace like J.J. Abrams did, but it's probably a good thing he didn't because they love getting credit like that.
Yeah, they do. Okay, Justin, I think we've got your reaction to get.
All right. Well,
about the ending.
About the ending, okay. Well, like I said, I love the data death scene. I thought that was okay. The Picard golem, I'm glad they handled it that way. I wish they would have healed him another way. We had thought about maybe he was going to be regenerated somehow. I was hoping they were going to go that route.
Why is the golem not a great way for you?
Well, it felt cheap. It really, I mean,
as opposed to something that comes literally out of nowhere. I mean, they set that up.
Yeah, but they could have very easily made them like a superpower or something like that. I mean,
no, if they'd gone superpower route, that would be the worst thing ever.
I think that's probably the problem. The golem. Come on. The moment we saw the golem, we all knew. That's the reason we had these, he's going to be done different ways. Because the golem was so obvious.
Yeah, I mean,
it was too obvious. That's why my thought was, they're going to use, Seven's going to inject Borg nanoprobes into him and fix him that way. Because it doesn't screw with the completely obvious thing, and you guys keep saying that Michael Chabon isn't going to do the obvious thing.
And you're saying he did do the obvious
He
thing.
did the obvious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what? And I totally agree with you, son. And I think that's my issue with this ending. Not the data part, because I think I agree with most of the rest of you. Well, I'll just have to hang on a second. Okay,
We'll let you catch up
now. Okay, so I agree with what most of you have said about the data part. I thought that was brilliantly acted. I think it was a nice ending for him. So I won't belabor that point. But on the Picard part, and this is actually my reaction to the entire or most of the finale, is that Michael Chabon, who did a great job, I think, throughout the course of the season, choked at the end. He did go for the obvious. He did go for pat endings. He did leave massive loose threads that demanded a better resolution. And and they raised so many great issues through the course of this season, stuff that we talked a lot about on this show that just didn't go anywhere, that really should have been addressed in some ways. And that's where my sense of disappointment comes from in this, is that I expected better from Michael Chabon.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree with that on that point, because it felt like something was missing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt like something was missing. Like they cut out a plot point at the last minute because they were going to get CGI done or something. I mean, something felt like it was missing. And I can't figure out where, but it just feels like there's a huge hole out the ending that they cut out.
It needs an epilogue, is what you're saying.
Well, I think
they may be thinking that season 2 is the epilogue, but it deserved better in this last episode.
Coming soon on Short Tracks.
Sorry,
Justin, then Sean. Go ahead, Justin.
Every discovery, they would always lead into the next season, what was going on. Like we saw the Enterprise at the end of season 1, the end of season 2, they travel to the future. What do we get with Picard? They just warp off. No plot for season 2, nothing. No, I mean, all is well, and there's no consequences of anything that happened. We were all
that
thinking
we see.
It was like the end of every TNG movie.
Exactly.
It was like.
Yeah, and it was like, all is well, then here we go. We're just like,
there was a huge time gap between Picard's death and them piling up on the La Sirena and heading off. The synth ban was repealed. Right, that's not something that would happen overnight.
Right.
They said that Picard was in the simulation for weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that, but yeah. Good.
Yeah, there was a huge time gap in between where all sorts of stuff most likely did happen that we didn't see because it was off screen.
Well, like Rafi and Seven. Hello, where the fuck did that come from?
Thank you.
Also,
that was a Voyager troll, because they did that whole thing with Chakotay and Seven at the end of Voyager.
Okay, I've been fighting this all week. So what we saw there was them holding hands.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yes, it was the
beginning of a relationship.
Of course, but it still comes out of nowhere, dude.
Yes, it comes out of nowhere. But it's the beginning of a relationship. That's what that signifies. It doesn't show that they're suddenly a couple. This doesn't come out. Yes, it comes out of nowhere. But it's not like they are suddenly. It's like they're a mated couple and they're going to have kids or something. This is them expressing the beginnings of an intimate relationship.
And that's fine. It's just that it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it could have planted. It could have planted something earlier.
Right, it's in a final pan.
It's the first time the two... Okay, it's not the first time the two characters...
It's not the first time.
It's the first time they've been able to spend any time together and become familiar with each other.
Let's talk about...
I actually thought there for a minute it was going to be a whole nother thing there with Eleanor. About maybe Seven Rios there for a minute.
Seven and Rios? That was never on the table.
So,
We
That was
just
never
want
on
the
the
pretty
table.
people to fuck is what it comes down to.
So,
Rory's
Shawn,
not happy with Seven and Rios.
Sean, do you
Right.
have your no button this week? Because I still do not, absolutely refuse Rios and Agnes. I refuse it.
We're gonna-
Absolutely.
Hang on to that,
That
Don, because
fake-
we're gonna
that-
have a whole Agnes segment coming up in a couple minutes. So
What I was
hang on to that.
gonna mention
one
here is
second
that
of-
I wanted to ask about this guy. What I was going to mention is this is Michael Chabon's first job as a showrunner, correct? Is this his first big job in television on Picard?
In terms of being a producer showrunner,
Yeah.
yes. He's
Okay, well-
written a lot. He's been in
Because
writers'
I
rooms
think
and
the
stuff.
problem here at the end of this, and I was thinking about this, and of all the Star Trek novels I've read, this wrapped up a lot like a Star Trek novel. And of course, he's best known for his fictional novel work. And I think that might be, the growing pains here that he's having and we had with a lot of this. A lot of this stuff, that they squeeze at the end didn't narratively work, but certain things like the whole thing with Picard in general going into the Gollum body, that was very much like a Star Trek novel. Like the type of thing would show up there. So I think that might be where I see. Look, I'm really trying to give this episode a lot more credit considering how much I disliked it. So I'm really going on my way to try to save this here, and because I do love the series. I mean, it was just it was just this last episode was just so disappointing for me. But I expect that despite all the flaws in this last episode, that we have a lot to look forward to in the coming seasons if this plague ever ends. So, and we get to making it again. So,
Indeed.